Fire commission, fire department workshop. We have any formal agenda?
There is one down in the corner there.
Please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda item. I guess we're not approving the agenda.
It's not on there, we don't have to, just ignore it then.
Yes. Agenda item 2, public remarks regarding potential fire station only. Please use the raise your hand if you're on Zoom, and comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Anybody interested in making public comments at this time?
There's no one on this.
Well, there's 3 people on, but no one's making it.
We're going to move on. Discussion of priorities and phased build out of potential fire station. Guess we're waiting for David, or are you gentlemen going to make a presentation regarding this?
Well, I am prepared to talk about what we've done since the last time we met.
Why don't we do that?
Yeah. All right, for those who don't know, I'm Brian Hume, Kuklinski Humes Architects. We've been working with the town and the fire department to try to find the best utilization of 11 Skinner Street for use as a fire headquarters. And based on our last meeting, you were interested in a phased approach, and the fire chief did send out a list of priorities for what would be in the initial phase of project development and what could be put into a future options for the building. When we look at 11 Skinner Street, it's never been an issue. Is there enough square footage? Square footage is there. It's just how can we now utilize the facility to give the fire department the spaces they need in a scaled back approach, where we could design phase 1 with the potential for phase 2. So I think the plan that you saw last time was a full build out, being it included spaces that the fire department has now indicated they could go to a future build out, which is locker rooms, bunk rooms, some other spaces within the functional spaces within the department. So I took that information, and I also was given a floor plan layout that the fire department had drawn. And I kind of looked at both. I took the preference list and I took the floor plan that I was provided by the fire department, and then had to apply that to the building. And it's not an exact copy of what I was given, but I tried to be efficient in the design, efficient with the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and provide the needed spaces. So I have a handout tonight which includes a floor plan and also a code plan. And the concept that we're proposing now, it may be best described if you look at the code plan instead of the floor plan. They're the same plan, but the code plan, this presentation is now we're down to 2 occupancies of the building, because we've eliminated the bunk rooms, we've eliminated the locker rooms. We're no longer dealing with an R3 use group occupancy. We're only dealing with 2 occupant use groups, business and storage. And for this, it's S1 storage, is low hazard storage. And the business use would be the office spaces and training classroom. we're proposing in this concept, the build out of the S1 apparatus bays and the two areas of business. There are two areas of S1, the rear area at 4,140 square feet and the S1 at 5,400 square feet that we're not proposing any build out of at all, other than what you'll need for lighting and some mechanical. But those S1 spaces would be heated and ventilated only, no air conditioning. The apparatus bays are heated and ventilated also with no air conditioning. So the only air conditioning load you're gonna have on this building would be the business use. So we're down to 8,700 square feet of air conditioned space. The front portion, the business use at 3,300 square feet, that was designed so you could utilize the training classroom, the public lobby, all the public activities, and restrict the public from going any further than the public lobby. The public comes in, they only have access to the lobby. They'll have access to the training classroom. They'll have access to a restroom. They'll have access to administrative staff. And they'll have access to any staff that could meet the public at the watchroom through a transaction window. So that's how far the public would have access. Firefighters, on the other hand, would have access beyond the other areas of business. And we're thinking most of the parking for firefighters would be on the left side of the building. Most of the right side of the paved area would be for apparatus use. Looking at the other area of business, the 5,400 square feet, supporting a lot of the plumbing needs of the facility. So I'm trying to centralize the plumbing just to reduce overall cost of development. So I put the kitchen next to the bathrooms, and the custodial closet is all where your plumbing is concentrated now for drains. We need to cut into the slab, we need to provide drainage. And the water service would be coming from the mechanical room adjacent to all that. So a lot of your utilities are now concentrated to that one area of the building for heavy water usage. We have a relatively larger area for dining and recreation room, but it's open space now, it's gonna remain open space. The reason I put the dividing wall between the business and the S1 is that's the column line. And I can utilize the column line and the steel line, form that separation. That will be a firewall between business and S1. It'll also be a firewall, fire separation assembly between the business and the apparatus base. So I do have to make those two walls fire rated partitions. One of the requests of the fire department was to preferably have 6 overhead doors for 6 bays. And the sketch that I received had that, they had 2 overhead doors per bay, structural bay, moving up the right side of the plant. I'm running out of room on the last bay. This is the bay closest to Skinner Street. The way this building is constructed, I have 31 feet from outside of building to center line. This bay. So that 31 feet includes a 1 foot thick exterior wall. So really opening at there, I have 30 feet from inside wall to structural steel. 30 feet. With the net space, I have 32 feet. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes a difference. We're proposing 13-foot wide overhead doors within the 32-foot bay. So that gives me 2 feet between the doors, 4 feet between the doors, 2 feet between the doors. If I get down here and I try to put 2 doors 13 wide into 30 feet, I'm running out of room. I don't have the room. So the other option is reducing these down to 12-foot wide doors. Also with not a lot of room between the doors.
This is for all the doors.
No, just in this last bay. So what I proposed here is an egress door and a 14-foot wide door. It gives you more width out of out of the opening. These 4 doors would be 13 wide. This would be 14 wide. But that is now giving them only 5 bays. But I have more clearance between the trucks. I know that the fire department indicated that they would need a minimum of 5 bays, preferably 6 bays. So in this one, I just wanted to point out that it's showing the 5. Most of the functions at the top of the plan are similar to what was given to us by the fire department. And it's really trying to just use the space most efficiently. We still have 11,340 square feet in that area. All those partition walls within that 11,340 are being proposed as masonry walls because of the trucks and the use of the space. It would be more durable than gypsum board. So the other thing that I tried to investigate further was the need for fire suppression in this building. We talked about that a little bit because I was thrown for a little bit of a loop when I found out that that hydrant in front was not really a hydrant. So where are we getting water from? I still need to investigate that a little bit further. But there was also a question, does this building actually need fire suppression? The code is written that if you sprinkle your building, put fire suppression within your building, you can relax some of the other fire ratings and partition ratings within the building. You can also build larger if you have fire suppression and you don't need to separate things. Looking into the code, if you have an S1 building that stores commercial vehicles, your fire area cannot exceed 5,000 square feet of area. So we have the ability here to say we're not storing vehicles, so I can be in excess of 5,000 square feet. I'm not storing vehicles back here, I can be in excess of 5,000 square feet, but I already don't exceed that. Here is where the problem exists. We would need to separate this into no more than 5,000 square foot areas with another firewall, and that you can't have that open space. And I have 11,000 square feet. So it's really, to get it below 5,000 per area, I almost have to do 2 firewalls in this space, so a firewall and a firewall. So you're really compartmentalizing these bays and having to go through fire doors to get from bay to bay to bay. It's not practical. It's doable, but it's really not practical. So we are proposing back to the fact that you are storing vehicles in this S1 condition that's requiring us to put fire suppression in the building. Now, you can't just do fire suppression in just that area of the building. Fire suppression is, once you put it in, it has to be fully sprinkled, fully suppressed. Oh, no, you can't just say, well, I'll just put sprinklers here, but business uses don't need sprinklers. Now, to satisfy this, you have to fire suppress the whole building.
So is that a scenario like this building where we end up with a tank?
The question I was having that I still need to find out is, you have a fire line to that hydrant.
Correct.
Can we utilize the line for suction? And can we put a fire pump on that line for suction? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe you know the answer to that.
So doesn't, we have to manually start it, so if there was a way to make it, so it came on like with an alarm. Or a way to turn it on, then yes. Cause there is a pipe that goes directly to that building. So,
So it's a maybe right now.
Well, this
I
is,
think the pump's gonna be needed.
this is what you have. Here's where this line goes to here. So you cannot put a pump here and just pull through because you have a pump in this building blocking.
But if we had automatic
if you had a way to.
Activation,
Yes,
Yeah.
of
you put an
that,
automatic way to start that, yes, but That's been a problem in the past with that.
Or upgrade the pump so that would work. So it may be a control issue.
Yeah, so right now there's, they had jockey pumps on the system to keep the pressure up. The
Yeah.
jockey pumps kept burning out because they thought there might have been like a small leak somewhere. So that's why they went to a manual system. Instead of.
Instead
continuing
of
to
fully
put-
pressurize that line.
Yeah, instead of continuing to put more money into it, they figured out it was best just to leave it as a manual setup.
And those pipes in the ground down there are old. So they're ground might be leaks.
Yeah,
We did find one.
If we can't use it, then we have to provide water storage. I assumed you're gonna have to do some pump, whether it's down at that location, get controls to it, tie it in. There has to be a solution somewhere in that,
And
So in addition to the plan, in addition to the code, I did prepare a project approach. Because I was notified that the next step is, if you have no objections to the layout of the plan, is you would like to know how much this all costs. So I did reach out to Downs Construction today to see if they had time next week to put together a cost estimate based on a schematic plan, based on a project approach. And they came back positively saying, yes, they definitely have the time. They could put something together next week. Just tell us about the project and they'll put, this is a cost estimate coming from a contractor now. It's coming from a construction company that builds these facilities. So they have knowledge of what they need to do. So I put together a project approach and I broke it down into each area. So what's the approach for the S1 occupancy at the apparatus phase? The bullet points are the things that we would need to do and anticipate doing in just that apparatus areas. Talks about wall construction, talks about types of doors, types of amenities at the apparatus. And then it goes on in each area, all the way through to the business occupancies. So I took some of this information from the handout that the fire department presented as the must-haves. And then also just added some things for what a cost estimator would want to know. So we can get you the most accurate estimate based off a schematic plan. This can get modified if you want to alter this in any way. I can modify this, but the intent is to give the project approach and to give the floor plans and to give photographs of the existing building to inform a cost estimator as to what the interior looks like, what the exterior looks like, where they're starting from, where they need to get to. And I'm sure they can fill in the blanks and get you a pretty accurate estimate of what the construction costs are gonna be. The wild card may be the fire suppression system, but all the other utilities are there on site. We're not anticipating you're gonna have any electrical service upgrades. There's a lot of power going to this building right now. There's so really in a brief summary, that's what I have to report.
The firm that's going to do the cost estimation, are they the guys used on the original report? Full-blown report?
Yeah, we can. Talking about the original, report that was done years ago, or which?
No, the one you presented last time?
Oh, for costs?
Yeah.
No, they didn't, this is gonna be a more detailed. cost
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, no, that was
Who's
just,
doing it, who's not?
that one that you saw before was based on square footages and based on anticipated. This is gonna be a complete professional
okay,
cost.
okay.
estimate.
All right, good to know.
It'll have much more detail than what you saw before. It's something that's in our contract scope to do. So that's how we're gonna initiate it. Once you tell us that this is something you want us to proceed with.
In the in the last version, last meeting. You did not include use of, I think it's 3,000 square feet in very, very the building where the loading dock is.
Correct.
Is that
4,100 square feet, 4,100.
Yeah, 4,100, I'll explain, 4,100 includes this exterior covered area. We have to include that as a building area. That's not actual net square footage. The 4,100 is that covered area also. So, yeah, you're right, 3,000 something is the interior space.
So we're now contemplating using that in the overall scheme of the development of the phase of development.
No, what you see in the project approach, within that S1 area, 44,140, limited scope, no new finishes. We just maintain the power to the overhead lighting, the exit signs. We have to maintain the gas service, the overhead unit heater. Limited heating, just because there's really low insulation values on the wall. Maintain the existing exterior envelope, loading dock, coiling door, and then new fire suppression. So we do have to put fire suppression in there. But that's really the only scope that's going in.
At the last meeting, you raised the question about ties to the roof. Have you figured that out yet?
I haven't contacted anybody, but we're assuming that we have to do something.
And we've got, what is the number of bays? 14 bays? Which are contemplated here. 1, 2, 3,
It's 5.
5 on one side, when none on the other.
Yes, correct. We're gonna need parking on the other side, so
What vehicles would go in
the 5.
5?
Sure, so our ladders would go in the first door. It's probably gonna go an engine in that big, because they're double deep. Then probably a tanker or a tanker. And then the rescue truck, the utility truck, our UTV, and probably the boat trailer would get stored inside, so that's not something that's a high priority, but if you have the space, might as well move it inside so it doesn't deteriorate.
Do you use the boat anywhere other than Lake Pocatello?
We could, we almost launched it last year in the Connecticut River, stuff where the river was very low. Because we did have a stock photo in the Connecticut River, so we do technically own 6 miles of waterfront on the Connecticut River. Normally we call for help immediately. Usually we call for South District and Middletown, but we could get called to that area, so. We do leave the boat on the lake just for a faster response, because it's probably where it's gonna get used to.
Would it be more practical? We stored the boat at Sears Park?
That's where it is right now. Yeah, so it is at Sears Park at the public safety dock. So it's on the water.
And in the winter, you would
Yeah, we usually bring it inside, so
bring it inside.
it usually goes up to company 3 that time of year. We'll move some things around, so they can fit up there.
One, questions or comments?
Does this all represent what would be presented to the town as phase 1?
It is.
So how do we, what are the next phases? Because we need to be able to present this as a complete plan so that people understand the full picture. And this isn't that.
You think we really need to do that?
I think people are gonna wanna know what the total cost of this project is gonna be, yes.
Well, it wouldn't be. It might be a, Hail Mary pass, not knowing when any expansion would be.
We have to be able to explain that expansions are coming. This is not the full build out. This is gonna be an expanded process at some point. And there's gonna be more money asked to do that.
I just don't.
Well, that's gonna
I think
happen
if
no
you're
matter
gonna
what.
phase it, it's gonna end up costing more in the long run. So you could give them a ballpark figure of what it is now. But I think going forward, it'll just be a guesstimate.
So see, we're thinking like 10 years out for phase two.
Oh, 10 years out,
Yeah,
because I think last time we talked about that, there was a 4-year,
No, that was
Something with
only, that was,
bonding or
we
something.
changed the thing, that was that we had it sell to Wayne within 4 year. That was removed.
so we're thinking 10 years for the second build out before we have to
okay,
give,
That's
you know,
correct.
all right,
staffing,
Okay.
overnight sleeping areas and stuff like that.
they'll never mind that.
Yeah, never mind.
in the phase two would be your 5,400 square foot area would accommodate most of that phase two build out. There may be some other adjustments to the business use, but I can't see that your apparatus phase are gonna be really impacted much in phase two.
What do you guys in the fire department think? Is this? I don't-
Yeah, so we were actually just chatting over here, so we have a committee that, you know, digs deep into these things, so on Sunday we'll get together. The 5 or 6 of us will get together and just go through and contemplate if we want the 12-foot door, or if we want like the 2 12s, or if we want the one big 14. And we'll make sure we want a couple things, you know, we were maybe thinking of adding a door in a certain spot. So we'll dig into it, but it looks a lot like kind of what we were looking for, so this looks pretty good, I think.
Is 12 foot wide enough for the big, what do you call it, the telescope?
Yeah, so we have 12-foot doors right now, so 14 just gives you a little more room in between the trucks when they're inside. So, but we do have 12-foot doors now.
We've made a lot of money getting rid of 12-foot doors. We've gone to a lot of fire stations that have 12-foot doors, it's like, just, they're too tight, we can't get out of them, they're too much of a squeeze. And as they say, they're doing it now, so the trucks can get in and out. And you probably have 2 that are pretty close together, which is creating less maneuverability between the trucks. I'm not saying it can't be done, but
How much room is
we'll
between?
take your recommendation.
How much room did you say was gonna be between the trucks, did you thought?
Well, with this, with the 13-foot doors, we have 2 feet between the doors. So you have probably 6, 7 feet between the trucks.
Okay, then fine.
That's pretty.
Yeah. But with the 12-foot doors, you don't have that much, space. In 30 feet, you can do the math. And that. I just didn't wanna propose something that you're gonna
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
you know, why did you do this? Why did you squeeze us
Why
back
don't you give us
in
these
here?
little doors?
Yeah. One bay that's really wide and adequate gives you space.
Yep.
Trying to put yourself back into 12-foot doors that are too close to each other. Did we really achieve anything here?
So it'd only be that one.
It would be that one bay.
It's a one bed.
So it's not, I personally don't think it's a huge thing. And with our 12-foot doors now, we can put the outriggers out on our ladder truck inside the building, fully extended, without hitting the other trucks. And it's just, we'll have to talk about it.
Yep.
Other than that, this looks really good.
No,
to
the
us.
TV.
There's a couple other things, just a small door that we might want.
Yeah, I've actually seen some doors I could put in.
What's the height of the overheads? Clear? Do we think they end up at,
You know the heights on these now?
I think what's there now,
14 foot.
yeah,
14,
14, huh?
that's the maximum we go.
And so Wayne put in 14s.
certainly don't want to go lower than that.
Yeah, they could actually be lower than 14, but 14 is your maximum that you want to go.
Right now, we have 12 by 12 doors. And with the ladder going in, we've got maybe
Inches.
3 or 4 inches from door clearance.
Right. And that number's not gonna get smaller in the future.
No, we had the truck custom built, so it could be lower. so it could fit into that bay.
Yeah.
So
Take your
we
tire.
had to, no, we had to buy smaller tires. So when we spec the truck, we spec'd it with a smaller tire, so it would bring it down a few inches to fit to the build.
And has anybody looked, I think that feels pretty flat entering into that space. That's no worse than what you have today.
It's a lot better than what we have today.
Well, I meant from the apron into the building.
Yeah, no,
Well,
there's
now
no,
you're going like this.
Yeah, it's
you know,
night and day.
This,
Pretty flat.
Yes.
yeah, we do have a lift now. As
yeah,
we come out, so,
Construction cost.
A zip as you come out.
yeah, so it drops and drops.
Oh, drops down. Okay.
Yeah,
At least it was dropping the right
yeah.
direction.
Brian, how long did you say it would take, the construction cost estimator to generate the numbers?
End of next week.
I contacted Brian earlier and asked him to accelerate that time frame so that the council could contemplate this as early as next Tuesday if you wanted to.
Yeah, considering the contractual restraints we have right now, I think we need to do something as soon as possible.
Are there other things that people want to talk about? Are there other concerns, other questions? Related to the concept, related to,
I do have a little statement I'd just like to make to the public who is watching, about like morale is a big thing, in any sort of organization, especially one as large as ours. And people wanna do the right thing and they wanna also be supported, so when, things like firehouses aren't supported, you have morale issues, so people feel left behind. And with that, you usually see loss of people, sadly. And as we're like the largest, organization that's all volunteer, we save the town a lot of money every year. The town of Wilton has 6 firefighters on 24/7. 6 is the minimum to fight a fire. That costs them $4 million. So the cost that we save by having volunteers and giving them the right thing to do their jobs is important. I think the public needs to know that this is infrastructure. It's first responder infrastructure, and we need to have stuff that's gonna last for another 70 years like we have now. So I think it's important just to realize we don't have fire sprinklers in any of our buildings. One of them catches on fire, that's millions and millions of dollars of fire trucks, and you have to wait 4 years for a new fire truck. So we're gonna be in a troubled spot if bad things happen, knock on wood, which we don't want to have happen, but some other big things is this cancer reduction. Just by you walking through the door and becoming a firefighter, you're now 9 times higher just to have cancer. So you are also 14 times more likely to, or 14% more likely to die from cancer. So from the nice stuff that's in all of our fire gear and PFAS and all the bad things that they talk about in the news. So it's hard to ask people to continue to do these jobs and not give them safe places to do it. And we can't segregate currently the gear and stuff like we need to. We don't have ventilation. Some of our buildings don't have the NFPA required exhaust systems to get the diesel from the trucks outside instead of you breathing it in as you walk around the building. And those are very important things to the membership and their health. We have one section of the roof that's still leaking. The outside is falling apart. We have birds, we have insects, we have bees that live in all the voids from the building falling apart over the years. And we are trying to take a step back, bring this approach so that it's not as expensive. We realize it's gonna be expensive for everybody, but it's a need, and I know there's a lot going on with budgets right now, and we're in a tough spot, I think. So we just want everyone to know, we're not trying to just spend money to spend money. This is something that's important. And it's something that's gonna be here after I'm here, so, it's gonna continue to serve the town, it's gonna be a centralized area for, the town to consolidate at some point. At some point, you're gonna have to bring in paid staff, it's just the way of the world, sadly. Volunteers are going by the wayside. So, with that paid staffing, you're gonna want them centrally located, you're gonna want them to be able to respond out of one building. You could have a scenario where you combine EMS and fire at some point to, stop the tax burden of in two different places. So there's a lot of moving pieces when it comes to this building, and it's not just us looking for something new. It's us looking for a replacement for something that's falling apart and that we need to fix. If we don't fix it, probably looking at, with the numbers that we've been given, $7 million to redo that building, that we're currently in, so to make it up to snuff. And then it still won't have enough room for, cancer prevention and other things like that, because it just doesn't have the room. It's only 14,000 square feet, so we're looking at going up in our square footage, because we need it, and, we just need more area to perform our duties. We're going to more calls, every year, we're up like 15% on 15% on 15%. This year, we're up 17% on last year already. So, we're growing, we're doing about 460 calls a year. When I first started, we were around 300, so that was, 15 years ago, 13 years ago when I started, so, call volume keeps going up. People need our services, and we still want to give them those services, so keeping that centrally located is very important. And 11 Skinner to us, 11 Skinner Street to us is not about who owns the building. I think a lot of people are looking into that. For us, we don't care who the owner is. We care about what we can do with the building to make it presentable for the town and make it an asset that we keep forever. So we just need more space. It's not something that we want to do to anyone. We don't, none of us want to pay more taxes to 75 members. They're all taxpayers too. They don't want to pay any more in taxes, but we need the space to keep them all safe. And most of them won't say anything. They'll continue to do their jobs most of the time, but they come into a firehouse now that we don't want to have people in, because you have mold, you have asbestos, you can't even drink the water. So you come in the building, you get the boiled water. How embarrassing is that when people come through the door? So we have bottled water at all times. So, you know, you invite Boy Scouts in, you don't want to invite them into areas that aren't pleasant. Like our kitchen's from 1977. It's beautiful yellow with nice asbestos floors that have been covered up, and that's falling apart. So it's, what we have now is not presentable for the public, and we don't host things in the building because we don't want the town to be liable. We don't want to be liable. We want the space to be something for the whole community. So, and that we can all have pride with.
Thank you, Chief.
No problem.
Any other comments or ask questions or?
Sure.
Dave, do you know, gonna respond, talk about some of the questions that Karen sent out in her email? That people supposedly, I guess, are asking her about. I guess the first one was, what other sites were considered? I have no idea. There was the council from 4 years ago formed a committee, and I don't know what else they looked at.
So besides the group that the town had, the fire department's also been digging into this for over 4 years. We've looked at sites, at the bottom of Barton Hill and 66, the town owns a piece of property there. We looked at, 13 Summer Street, the Bell Factory property behind it. We also looked at that same property, but as it faces, Bevan Boulevard, so they have another piece of property that's wooded, kind of more in a residential area. We did look at a piece of property, on Middletown Avenue. At the time, before the current owner of where they keep the buses, they were talking about maybe selling a piece of the town and moving the property into that area. So we've looked at many of things. But as this came up 3 years ago, when the original town council, 2 town councils ago, like tried to purchase it, because this isn't new, this is something that, you know, prior council tried to do. They tried to get the property and they were outbid on it, so here we are trying to get it again. But it's been something that we wanted for these last 4 years. It's not just something that came up last night and popped up. So I think that's another important thing for the community to know. We've been looking at this. It's not something that just came up and we're like, oh, we're rushing into it. We're not rushing into anything. This building, because it's steel, it gives us a lot more capabilities than wood and other materials, because you can essentially take the building and you can make the walls what you want on the outside. So and on the inside, you can put things up. So with having an open steel building, you can make a lot more changes and it's a lot feasible for renovation. So we wanted to go the renovation route because we know if we build new, we're looking at, maybe $3 or $4 million extra is what we estimated. So for square footage. So those numbers just keep going up if we keep trying to keep things new. But instead of retrofitting.
I also know as far as location, it is important for a fire facility to be located in an area which is convenient to their response time,
Yeah.
response area. This affects ISO ratings, insurance, homeowners insurance, so you're not at a luxury to just look at whatever property is available in town. You have to look at properties that are available within the response area pertaining to response times.
Yep, response times and ISO has certain rules like 5-mile ratio, which I kind of went into last time with you guys. If we did close down other things, which we're not doing anymore, but with the ISO stuff and the membership, the membership that we do have a really good demographic of younger 30-year-olds to 40-year-old people in the fire department. So that demographic lives more in the centrally located areas. They're more affordable to live in. So when you're looking to build a family, the centrally located areas are a little more affordable for our membership. So that's usually where they live. So responding to the firehouse, they're there within 30, 60 seconds. They're at the firehouse. So and they're waiting for other guys that are a little further away to get to the firehouse. So currently we have one member that lives 2 doors up from the firehouse, so we're really lucky there, but he's usually sitting in the truck with it running, waiting for the guys to come. So just where our demographic is and our help is central. So we got to keep that firehouse centrally located so it can respond to everywhere and as quickly as possible. Maybe a question.
Other questions? Over to getting the material back and ready or we can have whatever that takes. We are under certain time constraints, as you know, aware of the owner of the property. I don't know if that can be modified at all.
The agreement we have, is that what you said?
Yes.
We're already on those for 30 grand.
20 rather. But right now, the termination date on the contract is the town has to decide thumbs up or thumbs down, or it automatically ends on roughly the last day of July.
We have to have the referendum before the last day.
Correct.
They're all in their fires are lining up for August 1st.
What?
I did see an email this morning about the potential of putting it out with a budget referendum, and I do think that that is a horrible idea. Just to put my 2 cents in, I think that's gonna be quite the challenge.
Yeah, I think that's gonna make
I don't
it,
think we disagree with you, Ted, on that.
I think it's gonna make it even tougher.
I said, it's, I just think it's gonna be absolutely impossible to get it through if you try to do it on a budget day, especially if the budget is set as current, there's going to be.
Yep.
Although you'll get a lot of turnout.
We will.
Well, and it's a separate issue. I mean,
But you're talking, spending a lot of money on top of a large increase in the tax bill. You're adding, I just think it's gonna be very tough to get this through. And it's needed, and it has been since I was on council the first time. Actually, when I was on Board of Finance, when the first JLN
report.
Came
That
through.
was 2014 when that report came out, so.
Yeah.
This hasn't been just something that happened overnight.
But I just think it would be a great challenge to add it to a referendum, with the budget. In other words, maybe you should talk to Wayne again.
All right. Point once, point twice. We're adjourned.
You did have, public comments on your agenda
Is that at the beginning?
At the end,
at the end.
Oh,
Beginning and end. I think.
all right, I assume that, yeah.
And since you have 6 people and a couple in the room, I don't know whether there are anybody who wishes to ask any questions. You have 6 online and, like I said, a couple in the room.
Is there anyone raising their hand to speak?
not yet,
Does anybody wish to speak?
going.
No one is raising their hand.
I would just like to say, if I could. As a 55-year member of this fire department, 20 of those as department chief. And other officers in between there. And then I stepped down to be fire marshal, and I stepped down from there to be on the council, commission, I'm sorry. But it seems like this is being taken awfully lightly. And I don't know if there's any reasonable alternative to this proposal we've made. I just don't see it. We've looked at other properties, other buildings, there's not a lot that's in that area of the center of town where we want to stay to better serve the businesses and homeowners. I don't know where we're gonna turn to if this is not gone through, at least to some degree.
Oh, I'm not saying I disagree with it. I hope you don't think that that's at all what I'm saying. I'm saying that I don't think you're going to get it passed if you put it on with the budget referendum. That is what I'm saying.
Oh.
I am not saying that I am against it in any way, shape or form, but I do think that you need more than 2 weeks to promote it to the town to get a yes vote for this on top of all the spending that's going on in this town.
Yeah, I think
That is what I'm saying.
with all.
I am absolutely for, moving, updating the fire department 100%. I'm just telling you, I believe that it will be a great challenge or almost impossible to 2 weeks, get everyone to come and vote and support it on top of the budget.
And with
That's
all
all I'm
these
saying.
changes, we as a department haven't put anything like out to the public, because we don't want to give them the wrong information. Because if we start giving information about, the original plan, then people are gonna remember that and, not everyone stays up to date with everything that's going on in town, it's hard just to get to the firehouse sometimes for me, trying to have a home life, so as well. So I realize that not everyone can be everywhere, so we don't want to put the wrong information out to the public. So we are coming up with some publications right now through the fire department. So when this does get to the next step and we say yay to this approval, we can get it out to the public and we say, this is the square footage we're looking for. The fire trucks are this big, that's why we need to have them there. With Middlefield, I told you guys that they just had a vote and it actually passed. So with that, they put out a lot of information, information like what it's gonna cost you every year to have this building. Those are things we also feel it's important to get out to the public so they know what exactly they're voting. Because I wouldn't want to vote on anything blind that I didn't know about. So we're with the public there. We want to get out as much information, but we just don't have the information 100% to get it out to them. And hopefully after next week, we have some numbers and we can, get with Jeff and figure out exactly what the burden to the taxpayer would be.
Look, we've been very careful, certainly from the council scheme.
Yeah.
We've been trying to be very careful.
Yep.
Go ahead, let's make some reasonable decisions. Let's not just,
Yeah.
go off half-cocked. So we're doing our due diligence.
Yep.
And,
Which I appreciate it.
and absolutely. I guess my point is, on your presentation, I think everything that you said tonight in your spiel there that you've got written down, I think that's great. I mean, I don't think we need much more. We don't need history, I don't think.
Yeah.
Everything that you said is great, in my view. I think it's good stuff. I think that's the reason why we're here, and that's how we gotta promote it.
Yeah.
Because it's clear this town needs a new location. It's pretty clear.
Yes,
Let's just deliver it as efficiently as we possibly
Yep.
can.
What you said is the best sound.
Absolutely.
That can be given.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Yep.
One more time, anyone else?
Sorry, you'll let me speak again, sorry.
Right ahead.
No, I'm good, I said you let me speak last time, that's why, sorry to hold you up.
That's it. Thank you.
Done. I'm just curious if there was.
I don't.
So these, must be false.
I'd almost guarantee.
The weather.
Say that again?
I don't know.
Firehouse doesn't show up in the budget. Absolutely. So that's harder.
My thought is.
Just like,
Not even-
no, but that's gotta be part of it. That's the interesting thing about. Even 28.
I know that wasn't there, but
This
it's
comes in.
what you want. Nice days like that,
And that's gotta be
hanging out. over there, outside.
You're not gonna be able to communicate
Effectively. Oh, no.
It's just part of was, for that, and
We do that with our senior.
Based on the conversation.
So we do that with them.
so there's a possibility of it.
And then
You're a month out from it.
They don't get their vote on anything, but yeah. But yeah, if that's something I have to do. Cause it's only 4 times.
You could be 3 weeks away right now.
If it's something that's, I think, or with like a, thank you.
How long do they pick up? The harder.
He's never the heating ball. Cause no one
I don't know when you read it, maybe they know.
Senior members.
Or, no, it was 11/3/40.
It might be online. I would looking at a number, I was looking at one that, because there was a phone on.
Yeah.
That's not-
I don't think that. I don't know. We didn't talk about it.
Okay, yeah, I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Feels like.
So you've got this case, but I've.
Yeah, what's that?
Yes, we are.
They'll probably.
Once you retire.
We were never gonna say that.
Sure,
Well, I'm sure I'll get a text on it.
We are planning.
he was listening. I thought I recognized.
Yeah, it's worth that.
You're moving from.
Deborah and Doreen, I hope you enjoyed the last couple of minutes of conversation you probably heard. Have a good night.
The requirement that.